Okay, class, today what we're going to look at is a lesson called What's My Expression? Okay, so by the end of this lesson, what I expect you to be able to do is if I give you a T-chart filled out with both X and Y values, you should be able to determine the expression that created that T-chart. So we're going to be working on this particular standard right here, 8.5i, where it says write an equation in the form of y equals mx plus b to model a linear relationship between two quantities using, and today we're looking at tabular data. Okay, so let's review what we've learned. Well, if I give you a T-chart like this, then you should be able to evaluate this expression, x plus 4, for these given values. Because we know this T-chart says if x is -2, then x plus 4 is what? Okay? And what we've learned to do is evaluate this expression by plugging in the -2 to each one of to this expression and getting these values. So we could do -2 plus 4, which gives you +2. -1 plus 4 gives you +3. 0 plus 4 gives you 4. And then we notice that there's a pattern. Okay? And the pattern is actually counting by ones here. So the next one then would be 5 and 6. Well, today what I want to do is I want to give you all the x values and give you the y values, and you need to come up with this expression right here. Okay, so the first thing that we need to talk about in this particular lesson is this formula. Y equals blank x plus blank. All the expressions that we're going to deal with in this particular lesson are going to come in this form. Okay, where this blank right here represents what we call the slope, okay, of this particular information. And this blank is called the y-intercept. Now there are some letters that we use to represent these blanks. The slope is going to be represented by the m, and the y-intercept is going to be represented by the b. So what is slope and y-intercept? Well, plainly, a description of each of these is this. Slope determines the steepness of the graph. And we can find this number within this T-chart right here, and we will look at that here in just a moment. The y-intercept is called the y value when x is 0. And we'll look at this in a little bit more in detail in a later lesson. But it's in the T-chart, it's always going to be found as the y value when x is 0. So let's see if we can actually do a couple of these. So here's our first one. Sorry about that. So here's the first full T-chart that we have. Okay, now there's a process that I want you to go through whenever you solve a problem like this. I first want you to look for the y-intercept. Okay, I want you to look for this b value. Okay, and the y-intercept, as we said in the previous slide, is it's going to be the y value when x is 0. So we come down our x values here and we find 0. And we look across from it, the y value when x is 0 is 1 in this case. So that means our y-intercept is 1. Okay, now we need to find slope. Now slope is defined as, or the m, is defined as delta y divided by delta x. Well, this little triangle is a little Greek letter, okay? And delta in math and science actually stands for the change in. Okay, so to find slope, it's the change in the y values divided by the change in the x values. So we come over here and we look at these values right here. And these are what we call the y values. Okay? So if we look at the pattern going down the right-hand side, we notice that we're counting by ones. Okay? That's the change in y. Okay? Then we look at the pattern on the left-hand side, the change in the x values, and that is also 1. So our slope then is equal to 1 divided by 1, and that's a ratio. Okay? So 1 divided by 1, when we do the math, it's just 1. So the expression that models or makes this T-chart is 1x plus 1. All right? So let's try another one. So here's the next one. This will be a little bit tougher. Okay, again, we first find the y-intercept value. All right? So the y-intercept, again, is the y value when x is 0. So we come down here and we find x is 0. The y value is 4. So I put a 4 right there. Okay, to find slope again, it's going to be the pattern on the right. Okay, and the pattern on the right is 2 and the pattern on the left is 1. Okay? So our slope then is 2 divided by 1, which is just 2. Now, a truly intelligent person is going to find a way to check their answer. And yes, there is a way to check your answer here. You just take any one of these x values, any one except for 0, any one of the x values, and plug it into x and see if it works. So let's take the number 2 here. Okay, so if I take this 2 and plug it into x, it's going to be 2 times 2 plus 4. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 4 gives us 8. And what is this value supposed to equal? It's supposed to equal 8, so this expression works. Why don't you try one on your own? Pause the video and answer this question. Okay, let's see how you did. So, first thing, let's try to find our y-intercept. Okay, and we know that it's going to be the y value when x is 0. So I come down here to find 0. There's my 0 value. My y-intercept is 7. Okay, now to find slope, I know that's going to be the pattern on the right, which is 3, divided by the pattern on the left, which is 1. So our slope is 3 over 1, which simplifies down to 3x. Now if we take one of our x values, we can check this to see if it works. So let's take the 2 again. So 3 times 2 plus 7. Well, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 7 gives us 13. And what are we supposed to get? 13. So this expression works. Excellent. Any questions so far? Good. I didn't hear any. Okay. So what about this one? Okay. Let's see if we can answer this one. See if you notice any differences. Okay. Well, first, again, we find our y-intercept. So we go down our x values until we find our 0. There's our 0. Our y-intercept is -2. Okay. So now we need to find our slope. Our slope, again, is the pattern on the right. Oh, this time our pattern is what? What are we doing? We are subtracting 4. Okay, and our pattern on the right is 1. So our slope then is -4 divided by 1, which is just -4. So this particular expression is -4 plus -4x plus -2. Now in this one to check, I choose to use a negative value because I know a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. So let me choose -2. So -4 times -2 plus -2. Well, -4 times -2 is going to give me a +8. +8 plus -2 gives me 6. And that's what I was supposed to get. So this one works. Excellent. Okay, so now the next few problems are going to be kind of some variations that you might see. Okay, so what if I were to give you this one? All right, what do you notice is missing in this particular problem? Correct. Our 0 in our x value. Okay, we don't have an x or 0 here. So how would I find the y-intercept? Well, if we don't have a 0 right here, real quick, then just don't do the y-intercept first. Do the slope first. Okay, so there's no magic in finding the y-intercept first. It's just that's always a good thing to try to find first if it's in the t-chart. So this one it's not, so let's find slope first. Okay, so we know slope again is our pattern on the right divided by the pattern on the left. 1 divided by 1 is 1. Excellent. Now there are 2 ways that you can find the y-intercept when it's not given in your t-chart. One way, if it's not too far away, just go find it. Okay, so here we're going 3, 4, 5. So the 0 value is just going to be right there. You just go up and find it. All right, so now our pattern going down the right-hand side is counting by 1s. So I just subtract 1 to go up. So this would be a 3, and then a 2, and then a 1. So look at there, I found it. Okay, so our y-intercept is 1. So this one is 1x plus 1. Now that's one way to find your y-intercept, but there is a second way. Okay, and the second way kind of works like the way we've been checking our answer. What we do, if I don't know what this y-intercept value is, I just take one of my x values and plug it in and see what works. So in this particular one, I'm going to take the 3. So I'm going to do 1 times 3 plus what is going to equal, what's it supposed to equal? Well, it's supposed to equal 4. So 3 times 1 is 3. So 3 plus what's going to give me a 4? 3 plus 1. So there's the value that I need. Okay? So why don't you try one of these on your own? Pause the video and work this problem. Okay, let's see how you did. So in this one, again, our 0 value is missing. In this one, I'll be real honest, it's a little far away for me to actually go find the 0, because sometimes it will be. So we may have to use that other method. It may be a little easier. So let's find our slope first, okay? So our slope is going to be equal to the pattern on the right, which is 3, divided by the pattern on the left, which is 1. So our slope is 3 over 1, so our slope is 3. So now I'm going to take one of these x values and plug it into x and find out what our y-intercept is. So I'm going to use the value of 10. Okay, so 3 times 10 plus what is going to give me, well, what's my answer supposed to be? 21. Okay, so that's 30 plus what equals 21. Okay, well, in order to go from a 30 to a smaller number, I've got to have a negative number. Okay, so, and the negative number would be -9. So 30 plus -9 gives us 21. So -9 is the value that we need. Okay? And since we plug that in like that to find the y-intercept, we know it's going to be correct. Okay, so you could use another one to check just to make sure, to see if you were correct. Okay, so let's do a couple other variations and then we'll end this lesson. Okay, so what about this one? What do you know is happening? What do you notice is happening in this particular problem? One, there's no 0. But also our pattern on the left-hand side is different. Okay, so this is where it's very important to understand that idea of slope. Okay, so we don't have our y-intercept, so let's just go ahead and find the slope. Okay, so our slope is the pattern on the right, which is 4, divided by the pattern on the left, which is 2. Okay, so our slope is 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Okay, so now we take one of our values. Let's just take the 4. So 2 times 4 plus what is going to give me, our answer is supposed to be 6. So 6. So that's going to be 8 plus what equals 6? Well, 8 plus -2 will give us 6. So that is a -2. Okay. What about this one? Okay. This one doesn't look too difficult. But if you'll notice your x values, their pattern is different again. It's a descending pattern here instead of an increasing pattern. Okay, like we have had. So again, I don't have my y-intercept, but if you notice in this one, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where would our y-intercept be? It's just going to be right there. Okay, so let's just go ahead and find the y-intercept. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our pattern is counting by ones. So our y-intercept will be 7. And then if we find our slope is 1. But on the left-hand side, we have a -1. Okay? So our slope is 1 divided by -1, which gives us -1 as an answer. So this one we have a -1x plus 7. Last one, now this one's going to be a tricky one. Okay, so if you follow the same procedure that we used all the way throughout, this one will not be difficult. Okay, so first I look for my y-intercept. Don't see it. Okay, so let's go ahead and find slope. Okay, now the slope is, again, the pattern on the right. In this case, it's -4. And the pattern on the left is 3. Well, this one's definitely kind of different. So our slope is -4 divided by 3. Well, -4 divided by 3 in algebra is perfectly fine. Okay, that's perfectly fine to use that. Matter of fact, in algebra, we would prefer to have a simplified improper fraction as opposed to changing it into a mixed number or changing it into a decimal. Okay, so now let's find our y-intercept. Now this one's not too far away, especially since I'm counting by 3's here. So if I just go up 3, so this would be going up 3 and then 0. And then I just, instead of decreasing by 4, I increase by 4. So with the 3 would be a 6 and the 0 would be a, not a 9, sorry about that, would be a 10 because I'm counting by 4's. So that means my y-intercept would be a 10. So we've looked at several ways of finding the slope and y-intercept from a t-chart. And that's what our standard is talking about at the very top. Is again being able to write an equation in this form, y equals mx plus b, from tabular data. And that's what we've done. Okay? So I hope this helps. Until next time.